Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only podcast that, like Ryan Valade, will quickly be forgotten by Cardinal fans. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined by my co-host, Vincent Morgan. Hey, Nate H. If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. Hambone, how you doing? We are it is getting hot here in St. Louis where the summer heat is coming. We're almost at the solstice. How you doing?
Yeah, it's lovely out here in Colorado. We're sitting in the middle of the 60s. We have a nice cool breeze coming in, and the weather is just fine.
Oh, wow. Weather. We love a podcast about local weather, don't we, folks?
Especially a time-stamped local weather chat. There's nothing more enthralling than that. The weather right now.
So you had an experience this weekend that I got to hear a little bit more about because we are friends, but also content creators. So sometimes, really important things happen or really big things happen. And I wait until the podcast to learn a little bit more about it. Right. So as I understand it, you almost burned to death this weekend. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Could you give me a little bit more details on this?
And
the near miss.
Unfortunately, it is accurate. And I kind of didn't really realize the level of danger that I was in until I was telling the story to my dad on the drive home on the phone. And he was like, holy shit, you could have died. And, I didn't really think about it at the time. So yeah, I'll do a quick. I'll make this as quick as possible because I'm sure some people just do not give a shit. But
some were like,
Lemons
"Damn!"
Racing.
The episode. They saw the episode release and they're like, "Ah,
he lived." Although I think we've talked about this. If one of us dies, the podcast goes on. Like that wouldn't stop us, right?
In ideal world, within the next year or two, neither of us are the hosts of this show anymore.
Just cycle out and we tag I don't know, Jake or Kelsey or somebody else can take it up. I mean, it's all about the branding, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a behemoth of a brand at this point. It will it'll live on past. It's bigger than either of us at this point.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I do Lemons Racing, which is, if you're not familiar with it, is basically you take a junky car and you do an endurance race with it. We do a 24-hour race, which is noon to noon. You got to keep the car running, and then we also do a race that it's a 2-day race with a gap in between. So this was we had the 2-day race last weekend. I was doing the final stint of Saturday in the car. I had been driving the car for about 100 minutes, something like that. There was about 20-ish minutes left in the race. So we are close to checkered. Everything is going well.
Close to checkered. And, that's a little bit of lingo there. Is that what the cool guys say? We've almost checkered.
So. Yeah, that completed the race.
Yeah. Sounds like me getting ready for a ska band show.
Wow.
Getting checkered.
Yep.
Hip.
That's pretty good. Pick it up.
Yep.
So we drive a 1981 Datsun Z car. So the car is 40-ish years old, and it's seen better days, and it's a little souped up and all that. So, anyways, I'm going around the track. I am about to complete a lap, and as I try to go into fourth gear, I go into fourth gear, and the car loses a ton of power. Which that's not how that's supposed to work. I'm expecting more power.
Mm-hmm.
I switch back to third gear. There's still less. There's like 20% less power than I'm expecting. I radio into the guys. Hey guys, we're having a huge issue right now. I don't have all the power I'm supposed to have. I'm going to come in as soon as I can. So this is at the beginning of the lap. The lap is about 2.5 miles long. It takes about 2 minutes, 30 seconds ish to get around the track. 2 minutes go by. The car's limping along, like I said, with that reduction in power. And I think it's the second to last turn to get off the track and go into the pit lane and be rescued by my team. And I lose all power. And I kind of hear a kunk, kunk, bang, and
good sound to hear. Good sound. You want to hear
Great
that
sound
when
to
you're
hear.
driving a race car.
And the motor, the RPMs go like to like 8,000 and then to 0, and oil starts spraying out of the vents in the hood of the car, engulfing the entire vehicle, covering the windshields, covering the roof of the car, and steam is also flooding out of the side of the car. Initially, I think that steam is smoke. I can tell that the oil is covering the car. Oil is extremely flammable. So I'm essentially just sitting in the car, strapped in with my 5-point harness, Hans device. You are strapped into these cars, waiting for the fire to start. Because there's a very strict rule of if your car is on fire, you can get out of the car. But if the car is not on fire, you stay in the car because it's very dangerous to get outside of your car on an active racetrack, as you can assume. So I'm basically just sitting there calling into my team like, hey, guys, car's dead, waiting to see if it's going to catch on fire or not. It takes
I get that rule. I totally understand that rule because you don't want to go out onto a road where there are cars going 60, 100 miles per hour. But also it seems like waiting till it's on fire is like too late, like there's got to be a middle ground. Like I feel like what you're saying right now, oil everywhere, steam maybe smoke pouring out. That seems like enough evidence to get out of the car to me.
Yeah. So, and to be clear, I'm wearing like a fire suit, a fire helmet, a sock over my head. I'm wearing the shoe. Everything is flame retardant. So I am relatively safe-ish,
Sure.
I think they say those suits buy you like 2 or 3 minutes or something like that. Like you have to take them off. And
then you get to walk around like every movie where they hire a guy to be on fire, which is not how I think a real human would respond to being entirely engrossed in flames, where you sort of like walk slowly with your arms up and out,
as safely as possible with a guy with a fire extinguisher right up. We also have fire suppression systems in the car that I could pull. There are levers to pull, but obviously it was a scary situation. And I think again, like in the moment I was scared, and then like now sitting and telling you the story, I'm like, I should have been more scared because I was sitting in.
Well, it's where your training kicks in, right? That's where the training kicks in. You're locked in that moment. You're like, time to be engulfed in flames, and this is it.
Honestly,
take me, Hamburglar.
I was more thinking about how like we don't get to race anymore because this car is jacked up. But so if you're a car nerd, it turned out what happened is that the 6-cylinder, the piston essentially snapped off the rod, and you just essentially had a unhinged piston go like shooting around like crazy in the cylinder, which destroyed the engine from the inside out. And then that failure of that cylinder caused a backup in the oil system, and it found a way to explode. So it found a seal, broke that seal, and shot oil everywhere. And the car's dead now.
Damn. So that's just it then, right? You're just like game over for that race. You're getting last place, or maybe some people their car blew up sooner. I mean,
we got 55th place, Nate. So
out of
I think it was 73 entrants.
Oh, damn. Okay. So just making it almost to the end of day one still had you better. I guess that's part of the game, right? Because the inherent
there was one car
that it's shitty cars.
Right. The whole point is obviously you don't want your engine to explode and your car to essentially be totaled. But the whole point is your car's going to overheat, or you're going to have to wrench on the car at some point. Yeah. There was one team whose car they traveled from a faraway place, but their car never even got on track. So, obviously that's not the goal, but that is kind of part of the game of the whole thing.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm glad you're okay.
You guess?
That sounds pretty terrifying, frankly, although I understand in the moment there's a lot of competing interests. But I've never had anything near this, although I do think about I think we're the one who ended up picking me up from this because we were going on a weekend trip. But my old Jeep Cherokee blew a head gasket on the highway.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I especially I'm more understanding of how cars work now. But then I really had no idea. So I'm driving, and similar experience, just lose all power, and what I thought was smoke starts billowing out of under my hood on the highway. So I pull over. I don't know what's going on. So I just got off on the shoulder, grabbed my bag, which was in the passenger seat, my phone, opened the door, and just ran down the side of the highway like 100 yards because I thought my Jeep was about to explode and I didn't want to be anywhere near it. Now I know that it was steam and it was totally, it was very unlikely to explode, but I wasn't sure and I didn't want to be near it when it exploded.
Absolutely. I mean, even if it's just catching on fire, it's not fun. Those engines get hot as shit. So it's scary situation. Yeah. I remember that though. Yeah. The Jeep died that day.
The Jeep did die that day. That was my favorite car. In fact, I still at some point, it was a 96 Jeep Cherokee, and I have considered rebuying basically the same car because I liked it so much. But yeah, it died. His name was Da Buckets. For Da Buckets. It died.
Wow.
Well, rip to your car. Rip to a real one. So you're just you don't buy a new car for every race, do you? You guys have been using the same one for a little while, right? You just redecorate it.
This was this car. I think it was his 4th or 5th race.
Okay.
And we just retheme it. And actually, because the Lemons community is so funny, we've actually a guy on Facebook reached out to us, and he's selling us a mid '80s Datsun straight six.
So he was like, bingo! I've got one of those. I see them pulling it into the pit. There's my mark to buy my other one.
Yep. He messaged us, I think, on the Sunday afternoon of the event happened on Saturday. So we got to go get that. We got our next race in September, and hopefully we can get the car working before then and go again.
All right. Well, rip to a real one.
Yep.
But I guess that's part of the game. All right. Well, speaking of the game, check out this segue.
Wow.
Let's talk about baseball. Hambone, we've got a little bit of Cardinal news to get into before we start talking about the state of play. I think probably most exciting for us and for this podcast, Jordan Walker was reactivated. I'm trying to think. There's probably few players we've talked about more in the last 2 years than Jordan Walker, and sort of his state, how he's doing on the field, and all that is something we're constantly talking about. And so him hitting the IL right when it seemed like things were coming together was particularly disappointing. But he is back now. Good to see him back in right field. Small sample size on return, but just good to see him back out there. How are you feeling?
Yeah. Jordan Walker's back. He had, I think he only played about 2 or 3 games at AAA before he came back, which we talked about may or may not be a thing. He hit decently in those couple of games. He struck out a little bit too. But I'm hoping he comes back and hits the ground running. I think the more complex part of the problem is that with the way that Alec Burleson is playing right now, and one of the better hitters in baseball currently. Against lefties too, he's just smashing everybody right now. Did you see that pitch that he hit last night against the White Sox game, Tuesday night game? The pitch was eye level, and he somehow leveled it out and hit like a liner over the second baseman. The guy is just hitting absolutely everything right now. I'll go back to Walker. Happy he's back. I hope they kind of just throw him back out there and let him hit, but does kind of. Where do you find the ABs? Do you put Ivan Herrera at DH? Do you put Alec Burleson at DH so that you could throw Walker out in right field? And I meant to say put Ivan Herrera at catcher so that DH is available. Where do you find the time for Jaywalk?
Yeah, it's tricky. We're going to talk about him here in a minute, but you start to question where does Nootbaar play, maybe? Yeah. We're looking for at-bats right now for a couple guys. You're looking for at-bats for Burleson. You're looking at bats for Gorman, who we talked about last week, and is continuing to hit the ball pretty hard. And then everyone wants Jordan Walker to play every single day, I think, including the organization. It's a tricky problem. I mean, we've talked about it a lot at this point, but it still seems like the clearest path is the Ivan back at catcher. But we just don't, unless I've missed something. I'm not the best at tracking every statement from Ollie and the crew, but unless I've missed something, they're still not super comfortable with playing him every day at catcher. But I imagine we're getting closer to that, or maybe they just don't want to. But with the way the Cardinals are playing recently, with losing more, they really need to prioritize like their best possible lineup if they want to keep winning. And I still think that's with Ivan at catcher. So but it still seems unclear if he's ready for that. But yeah, I mean, it's this. Here we are again. We had a little bit of a break from the log jam with Brendan Donovan being out and Walker being out, and it was, you had some clarity there. But everyone's back. So what do we do?
I mean, you have 3 catchers on the roster, and I'm not bringing this up as a joke or anything like that, but it allows you to have Ivan Herrera start at catcher for the first 6 or 7 innings, and then either move him to DH or take him out of the game and put a backup catcher in for defensive replacement if you think that that's necessary. And then you can still pull the Pozo lever if you're worried that Pages is going to get hurt or something like that. I mean, if you're going to run the 3 catchers, then you could take advantage of it a little bit if you find yourself in that scenario. And I don't know, what do? You put Burley at DH to start, Herrera at catcher, and then 6th or 7th inning, you put Herrera into DH, take Burley out of the game, and put Pages in at catcher, and that's your more stout defense. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it kind of depends on what the status of the game. I mean, you hate to take away at bats from Ivan, but if they're up and they're winning, well, there you go.
Right?
Yeah. It's, I don't know. I think we're just going to see a cycle of. I'm assuming Walker, and I think he's already had a day off, but that might have just been still coming back from injury. But I'm assuming we're going to see Walker have a slight reduction in plate appearances as Burleson gets more starts in right field, for better or worse. But like you said, with the bat, like he's doing it. He's doing what we said before. He didn't make a lot of sense on this team when he was only kind of hitting righties and not doing it particularly well. But now he's crushing it and maybe taking a slight step forward even. And at that point, now you got to play him.
I mean, he's as hot as the sun right now. You have to play him right now. Like, I don't think that. All I want is good things for Alec Burleson. I don't ever want to sound like I'm coming down on him, but I don't think he's going to have a 172 WRC plus, which he is carrying in June right now, for the remainder of the year.
Right.
He might be a 130, a 135 WRC.
He was 125. He was 125 against righties, or was it 125 against the entire for the entire season? I can look it up, but
I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, few people are carrying 172, but he has like the highest batting average in baseball, or at least in the NL, since like May 17th or something like that. And it's not an empty batting average. He's hitting it with some authority. So he seems to have a spot, and it might just be over Jordan Walker, which is rough. Yeah. But at least for the next 5 weeks, I imagine the Cardinals are going to be doing everything they can to win every game. That equation might change in 5 weeks. But for now, they're trying to win every game. And with that in mind, I think you got to play Burleson, even if that means taking some at bats away from Walker. But I don't know. I'd rather. So I don't know. Yeah, it's tough.
We were talking about like the defensive replacement that is, possible with the catching position. Do you, if you have the lead and Burley is out in right field, do you defensive replace him or make a defensive replacement with Jordan Walker over Burley? Is that a plus?
I think so.
Right?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely a plus defensively. I mean, at this point, we have to start considering Jordan Walker as a pretty good right fielder, And I know Burley's done a few plays out there that, you can point to and say, hey, he's not completely useless out there. But if we are talking defensive upgrades, it is certainly an upgrade from Burleson to Walker.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we'll be a little more dynamic with how we deploy the 26-man roster and try to find, because then you bring him in as a defensive replacement. Maybe he gets 1 to 2 at bats at the back end of the game, and you're still getting those Jordan Walker ABs, but that obviously assumes you have the lead and
still cutting.
You like the matchups, and there's a lot kind of to consider there.
Well, if we can skip ahead a little bit, I think it's relevant to the discussion. Is there a path where Nootbaar is losing at bats for sake of Burleson? I mean, I know left is different than right or center, but like if we're just going pure offense here, could we do a Burley left field, Scott center, and Walker right field sort of thing? Are we just asking for too much trouble there?
I think so. Let's highlight this. Lars Nootbaar has an 18 WRC plus in the month of June. His last base hit of any kind, was on the 7th of June against the Dodgers. So it's been a while. Hopefully this is out of date by the time this episode comes out and he got a hit against the White Sox tonight, but it's not looking great. He's striking out over 33% of the time. But he's still walking. He's walking at 12.5% in June, so that's good. He hasn't completely lost, everything. And as I was kind of looking over the numbers and always, just trying to find a reason for or trying to find an explanation to what's happening and why Newt isn't nooting right now. The only thing I could really find that was interesting was that he has one of the highest fastball rates, or he's seeing some of the highest fastball rates in MLB right now, and definitely on the Cardinals. He's seeing over 50% fastballs, and he's just not doing anything with them right now. So my conclusion there, based on the numbers and a little bit of the eye test, is he's just behind on the fastball and he's having a timing issue. I'm a Nootbaar fan.
Right.
I trusted Nootbaar. I think that he will probably start hitting fastballs, like I said, maybe as soon as this episode drops, maybe tonight against the White Sox, or maybe later this week. I think he'll get the timing down, and I think he'll go back to being one of the better players, position players on the team very quickly. And he's I am of the opinion that he has earned a longer leash than what he currently has. Now, it sucks. Like a 16 WRC plus is basically you are nothing. You are.
Yeah.
It's almost like me standing up there somehow. But I think that he'll bounce back, and I think taking ABs away from him would be a detriment to the team success. I think he's an at bat away from getting that timing figured out.
Yeah, he certainly has a longer track record, and he is a what they may call a StatCast darling, right? Where everything under the hood looks, or at least compared to most players, like if you pull him up, he's got a lot of red. Everything, there's a lot to like about it, and that approach, at least he's drawing walks. That's a skill that he tends to maintain throughout. But I don't know, man. It's just in these like log jam situations, trying to win right now situations. And you've got a guy like Burleson and a guy like Jordan Walker, who is hitting the ball better than Nootbaar right now. Is it like you got to find spots somewhere? And maybe this all in 6 weeks, this doesn't matter as much. And where we can prioritize the long-term development. But if they're trying to win right now, I hate it too, but I mean, it's the more clear path.
A day, we're playing a lot of games in a row right now. A day off or two is always a good idea. Right. I think I'm a pro rest. I'm pro rest generally. So if we want to give Newt a couple of days off and try Burley out there, I'm fine with that. But I do think for the immediate success of the team and the long-term success of the team, that Nootbaar should be out there. Yeah. And he is going to start timing up fastballs again. I feel very confident in that.
Yeah, well, the dream of, in which we have seen at times, of like a Nootbaar Donovan 1-2, where those first two at bats are just excruciating for the other team. Odds are at least one or two of them are going to get on base before you get into your bigger sluggers, and like, that is an ideal version of this lineup, right? So I see what you're saying, and I generally agree. Like, I don't really like lobbying for Nootbaar to lose at bats, because I have the same long-term view of him. I'm just wondering if right now is the time when we've got other guys that are hitting. I mean, that's sort of the trick that Marmol and crew have to deal with is the hot hand versus the long-term development, which they find themselves, even more in this tricky situation because of the Cardinals' lack of ability to pick a direction this season. So here we go. These are all just microcosms of the broader lack of decision making of, are we going for it or are we prioritizing development? Because if you had a clear answer on that, then all these decisions underneath it become a lot easier to make. But we don't know. They're just sort of, we'll see what happens. Maybe we win, maybe we don't. I'm sure that's clouding this decision to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think to be clear, Mo is of that opinion. Ali Marmol and the Cardinals, the team, the 26 man are not of their opinion. That opinion.
They're trying to win right now. Yeah.
Busting their asses down there. Yeah. Or at least trying to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Reds announced that they have claimed Ryan Vilade off of waivers from the Cardinals. The Ryan Vilade era is over. At times we had some reason to be excited about this guy. He ultimately got a small opportunity to crack the main roster here. Didn't really do much with it. Guys got healthy, and he's gone. So thanks for your service, Ryan. Good luck with the Reds. Still young. There obviously saw some of the upside down in the minors. But I guess this is it for Ryan Vilade as a Cardinal.
15 plate appearances. It's so funny, you play a couple of months in the minor leagues, you get the call up because you're playing well and there's an opening. You get called up. There's almost no real playing time for you. You're kind of a defensive replacement. You only start a couple of games. And rather than going back down to the minors or some other team claims you and your Cardinals career is just over. It's just
done.
The transactional nature of guys at this level has got to be, it cannot be fun. It cannot be easy.
The emotional roller coaster of all right, kid, you're in the majors. Here you go. We need you up here. And then, you barely get
you're
chance.
Gone.
Yeah. You don't really get a chance to get comfortable and you're gone. Yeah. You basically have to crush immediately. And even if he did crush immediately, who knows if he would still even this, we saw. So
he is still. There's no way he is still off the roster. No matter what he did, he would be off the roster.
Yeah, yeah. So JC came up and crushed, and he's back in the minors. So it's the logjam. But oh well. So good luck, Ryan, Cardinal legend. I guess we move on.
We will miss you. Yeah.
All right, Hambone, you were gonna call for this last week. We had to cut it for time. I know that sounds crazy. We never cut things for time on this show, but if you remember us talking last week, we had a ton of technical errors and it impacted our recording, so we had to cut some stuff. But we ended up cutting a chance for you to be a little bit of a predictor here. You wanna go over this one a little bit?
Andre Granillo, he gets called up, which I was asking for, and the reason I was asking or was about to ask for this, and I was stifled by my co-host. I was unable to express my opinion. Anyways, he is in AAA. He's been freaking fantastic, Nate. He's got almost 30 innings down there. He is striking out almost 14 humans per 9. He's not really walking anyone. He's got a 1.82 ERA. I mean. Yeah, did I say walking less than 7% of batters? I mean, everything he's doing down there is fantastic. Fastball slider guy. The slider is plus. So we're loving it. We're very happy to have him up here. Now, since he has had, he's appeared in 2 games, he's picked up a couple of innings. We haven't really seen that strikeout thing be a part of his game yet, but he's obviously still getting his feet wet. But I think it's probably likely, this guy continues doing what he's doing in AAA and becomes a really solid part of this bullpen. His fastball sits there 95 plus, and that slider is the slider is the real deal. So happy to have him up here. Happy that the Cardinals are being kind of opportunistic with this part of the roster. I think it always makes sense, and hopefully he stays hot and becomes a guy. Like maybe he's the Ryan Fernandez of 2025.
Could be. Those are pretty remarkable AAA numbers, and we've talked about it endlessly. We really highlighted it last week to some degree that the Cardinals need strikeouts, and even though he didn't do it in his first couple innings, it's not uncommon for someone in their big league debut. This is a guy who has wipeout stuff. So yeah, I imagine, the back end of the bullpen, Maton's been incredible. Helsley is Helsley, so he's probably out there regardless of outcomes. And there's been some good performances, but I'd still say it's wide open for many people to establish themselves. You could, if he does anything like what he was doing in the minors, very likely this guy could end up being our 7th, 8th inning guy. Or if there's a couple trades coming up, I don't know. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. He's young, very small sample size, but he's got the stuff that typically does well in the bullpen. And so if he can transfer that to the majors, there's likely ample opportunity in the back end of this bullpen, either today or in the relatively near future.
Yep. Yeah, the trading season is open, Nate. It's officially they kicked the doors open.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit more later this episode. But yes, the trade season has been made wide open. Although I expect there will still be probably several weeks before anything else really happens.
I have lots of opinions on Devers. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. All right. So the Cardinals currently stand at 38 and 35. That games above 500 continue to dwindle after a disappointing series against the Brewers. We kind of highlighted that one as a potential to separate themselves a little bit more in the middle of the standings, but also that 4 games in Milwaukee, it's always going to be tough, So still disappointing series. Good start against the White Sox, which you would expect, but they still have 2 games left. So we'll see. I know we want to talk a little bit more about the starting pitching. Hambone, how do you want to talk about this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's important to talk about the fact that the starting pitching has been the problem over this last 2 weeks-ish of kind of just lesser baseball. And I also think it's worth noting that over this last 2 weeks, there have been 1, 2, 3, 4 losses that were just by 1 run. So yeah. I'm not worried about the team. The team is like any team is going to dip. The Cardinals had a real, they had 7-8 game winning streak a little while ago. They're going to have dips, but I'm still relatively high on this team. I still like the general makeup and what we're getting out of the players. So I want to be very clear with that before moving forward. But over the last 14 games, Cardinal starters have an ERA of 6.08, which is not good, Nathan.
Not great.
What's fascinating, though, is that they have an FIP, fielding independent pitching, is of 3.76. That's a huge gap.
That is a huge gap.
That's 2 1/3 run difference.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the Cardinals, the offense has been relatively good over that same time period. Like over the last week, especially, almost every player on the Cardinals, I think, except for Victor Scott, has a WRC plus over 100.
And Nootbaar, of course.
Nootbaar, who hasn't gotten a hit since the 7th. Remember that. And by the way, Scott is showing signs of life, so that is
he got
also
a dinger.
Good to see.
Anytime Victor Scott hits a home run, we got to feel like, all right, there's something clicking, right? Because that is not traditionally a part of his game at this point at the major league level.
Right. So there's obviously something going on, and we always talk about the fact that like random acts cluster randomly. So the Cardinals' BABIP over this time period for the starting pitchers is like 333, which is definitely higher than you would expect. Although people do hit Miles Mikolas and Andre Pallante very hard, so maybe that 333 is not that crazy, but. Without a doubt, a 6 ERA and a under 4 FIP. There's probably some bad luck happening. I also want to call out that over that same 14-game period, the Cardinals bullpen, which has thrown 51 innings, has a 2.82 ERA. So the problem is clearly starting pitchers. Starting pitchers may be getting unlucky. They may not be all that great. And I'm building up all to say, Nathan, it's McGreevy time, baby.
Yeah.
Let's pull the lever. Katie Wu said that when Michael McGreevy is re-eligible to rejoin the team on June 24th, it is highly likely that they get into a 6-man rotation, even if it's only for one turn, and give him a start.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great. I've said many times that I think the 6-man rotation makes a lot of sense for this team. But I'm also kind of like, okay, let's do the 6-man rotation. And when you don't want to do that, let's leave McGreevy up. And maybe it's Pallante's turn to
be the swing man.
Minors.
Yeah.
Be the swing man to take over that role that McGreevy has. Pallante has a 6.23 ERA over his last 5 starts. He's been getting hit pretty hard. While he did strike out some in his last outing, he hasn't been striking people out, which we know is a problem. And I'm kind of ready to give the 24-year-old McGreevy just a longer look. I think he's proven it. I think that we talked about that start against the Dodgers. It's McGreevy time. That's what I'm here to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I said the same last week. I think this last couple of weeks of results with the ERA far higher than the FIP is really just variance all evening out, right? Because we had that entire conversation a couple of weeks ago about Miles Mikolas having an incredibly low ERA and a very high FIP to a degree where it seemed almost like mathematically impossible that his ERA could be as low as it was while his FIP was so high. And so now we're on the flip side of that, right? Some of these things those hits are landing. People have been hitting the ball hard against Pallante and Miles and other guys too. And they were getting good breaks, good defense, et cetera, suppressing that ERA. But that shit's going to break through. If you continue to give up that degree of hard contact, those balls are going to start to fall, and maybe in unlucky ways. Maybe it starts to feel almost like too aggressively unlucky, and that's what a 6 ERA versus a 3.75 FIP kind of looks like. But it evens out over the length of the season. But especially when we do these shows weekly and we look at these small sample sizes, you can get these extreme numbers. And really, it's that underlying that we got to look at. What is the hard hit rate? What is the contact rate? Things like that will give you a better idea of the true, sort of output of the pitcher. So, which is to say, yes, I think for a while now they've needed to strongly consider McGreevy and Pallante or Miles out. If I were to guess, I would say they will prioritize Pallante being out over Miles Mikolas, just for all the classic, boring, annoying reasons, veteran status, leadership contract, dollars, all that stuff.
Cowboying up.
And there is also some, cowboying up, eating lizards, etc. Cowabunga dude, tubular.
Miles has a under 4 FIP right now.
Well, so I was also going to say is that you have like Pallante's pitched out of the bullpen recently. He's done it before. You have longer term control, so maybe bouncing him around a little bit will be okay. Whereas Miles, he's easy. We've hated on him and for a lot of reasons, but at the end of the day, like, he's really doing what he's done for years now. It's all kind of the same thing, right? He had a crazy period of really good luck. Maybe some of that luck is regressing, but it's just sort of the Miles Mikolas experience, and I think we're just going to have to deal with it for another 3.5 months. And I'm kind of, and unless something crazy happens and he gives up 4 games in a row of just totally trash results, I think we just have to deal with it. And I'm kind of done just talking about what to do with Miles Mikolas, because I think that decision has been made. So I think Pallante probably makes the most sense. And let's get McGreevy in there.
Yeah, it's McGreevy time.
Yeah.
I want to make a prediction, Nathan, about our pitching staff. So we all know Quinn Mathews, he's back in the cut. Mm-hmm. He's pitching once a week down in AAA. He is starting to get back going. He had his last start wasn't fantastic. Only went 3 innings. He walked a bunch of guys. He also struck out a bunch of guys. But it's starting to get going. He's getting healthy. He's getting back into the swing of things. I'm saying right now that Quinn Mathews is going to make his MLB debut in the middle of July. I think about a month from today, we are going to see Quinn Mathews up, and it'll be once he has 1 or 2 really solid starts behind him down in AAA. Maybe McGreevy will already be cemented in the rotation, but there will be a need, and they're going to pull the Quinn Mathews lever, and we're all going to freak out, and it's going to be very, very exciting, and he's going to look great. It's coming. I'm saying it now.
Well, I certainly hope you're correct. I would love that because that would mean that he's doing very well in his return. And it would be fun to see the Cardinals make a decision like that and for us to see hopefully a glimpse of the future here at the major league level. I'd be surprised if it's that soon, Hambone. I feel like it's a post.
I figured you would be.
Yeah.
I figured you would be, Nate.
Well, whether I think it's a good idea or not, it's in character to tell you that you're stupid and it's a bad idea.
Of course.
So, no, I just think it's going to be probably post-trade deadline. When we have a better clarity of what direction the Cardinals are going in, unless he's absolutely dominating in his next month of starts, you don't traditionally think of calling up a guy for his big league debut in the rotation as a let's bolster this team to win right now move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even the best pitchers take a little bit of time to get acclimated to the big leagues. And it just doesn't
Jacob
seem like
Mizorowski seemed to hit the ground running.
Yeah, well, and he's absolutely dominating at the minor league level, throwing 103 miles per hour. So there are certainly those guys. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the reality is that Quinn, obviously, we think the world of him, and his ceiling is sky high, but he's yet to completely crush AAA. And so we'd need to see some real dominance from him in the next 3 weeks, I think, for it to hit that target. But I'm hopeful, that'd be awesome if that's the case, but I'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm just, like I said, staking my claim, and maybe this prediction I feel less resolute in, but the Dodgers are going to trade for Miles Mikolas in that 3.73 FIP. They're going to make one adjustment to his repertoire, and he'll be the best pitcher in baseball. And
or something totally inexplicable, and he's going to be the closer for the Dodgers in the World Series.
Yeah.
Hey, while we're on the subject of pitching prospects coming back, it was announced yesterday that Tink Hence is done with his. They've done a very long rehab for him. When you're in the minors, what's the real difference between an extended rehab and playing in the minors? But they've done a really long rehab, so he's been officially reinstated yesterday, and in a bit of a surprise move, he was reinstated and sent down to AA, where he dominated last year. There was some surprise in this. Everyone sort of assumed he'd go back to AAA. I think this is likely just. It's all part of the rehab. Get him back to where he's been comfortable, where he's dominated before, and I imagine he'll be back at AAA sooner rather than later. This may even be a planned thing where he gets 1 start, 2 starts at AA before going back to the AAA rotation. I don't know. Either way, it's good to see him officially reinstated and throwing professional baseball again. I'm very torn on what
There's some crunch going on too. Quinn Mathews, Ian Bedell, Gordon Graceffo, Michael McGreevy. There's a lot of other names, and I think obviously it matters who you're facing, but pitching is it's does the fastball look really good? Well, the fastball is really good. That's going to play. We have such good numbers on these things that I don't know if the assignment is that meaningful.
Yeah, the stuff is the stuff. And that is, I think you're right. And that is definitely why you see some guys go from even single A or double A into the majors far faster than a position player might, because Like if your fastball is hitting the metrics of a major league fastball, then okay, let's just get him up here.
That's pretty predictable. Yeah.
There is that sort of, yeah. I do think there is, depending on the type of pitcher you are, someone with a lot of movement, there is that element of playing the batter and getting comfortable and throwing your pitches in different sequences and things like that, which is, the standard development for people. But I think you're probably right. It matters a little bit less than like a hitter who you're trying to ramp up the velocity, the spin, all that stuff. You kind of got to see it for a little while before most guys, before you're ready to hit it.
Right.
Yeah. So either way, one of the more disappointing side stories of 2025 has been that Quinn Mathews and Tink Hence both of them basically started the season and immediately got hurt and stalled their development. And so it's good they're both back. I definitely agree that I think Quinn Mathews is here in 2025. I'm still very hopeful that Tink Hence is here in 2025, but in what capacity, position, or status in the rotation or bullpen or all that, that is a huge unknown to me. I think the unfortunate reality is that Tink Hence might end up in the bullpen long term. But either way, it's good to see them back happy and healthy.
One other just minor league note, I feel, we check in on this guy every once in a while, but it's worth calling out that JJ Weatherholt is dominating Double-A right now. He has a 158 WRC plus. He is walking almost 17% of the time. He's striking out less than 14% of the time. He's doing all of the things. He has 9 stolen bases. He is just really, really good. I think he will probably get promoted here pretty soon. I mean, depending on logjammy and trade deadline and stuff, we talked about this before the season started. I still think it's likely that he touches the big league roster at some point this year. He just looks so polished, so good. Where is he going to play? I have absolutely no idea. But
so we've already seen a number of 2024 first round draft picks called up. It's several recently, right? Jack Haglione, Nick Kurtz. The Angels just announced they've called up, I think they just called up Christian Moore. And you could make an argument that JJ Weatherholt has outperformed all of them at the minor league level, depending on how you want to slice and dice different stats and plate approach preferences and things like that. But the difference between the Cardinals and like the Angels and the Royals, and the Athletics even, there's really just no place to put Weatherholt in a consistent. He would just slot right into the same logjam we spent the first 15 minutes of the show talking about. So this is a good problem to have, but it is a problem. And I imagine, again, I see a potential future where, depending on what this team looks like in 6 weeks, the trade deadline could be the make room for JJ Weatherholt story. You know what I mean? And that will be exciting in its own right, but that likely means, we're doing other things to set up for 2026 and beyond. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Gorman's hot right now. Do you move Gorman and make room for Weatherholt? And is Nolan Arenado on the trade block? Does he agree to something? There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Moving 2 Nolans in the same trade deadline would be scary, though. I don't know if I feel great about that.
Yeah. But I mean, if it's an interesting problem. I guess JJ could probably learn the outfield, but his ideal situation is somewhere in the middle of the infield. So you've got Brendan Donovan or Nolan Gorman, Mason Wynn, and then Arenado. I guess if you can move Arenado, then Gorman could play third, which we've seen a little bit of, but you still don't have a spot for Weatherholt then. So I don't know. It's an interesting problem, but it's a good problem to have. It's really it is. JJ was an incredibly exciting draft pick, and the fact that he's living up to expectations, if not exceeding it, is a ton of fun. And I'm continuously excited about the 5th pick the Cardinals are about to have in the draft.
Yeah, I just, and we'll talk more about the trade deadline, I guess, and we'll highlight some people we think the Cardinals should target or how they should handle it. I just really, really want the Cardinals to somehow turn a batch of these younger guys who maybe other teams can dream on into a controlled major league starting pitcher. I think that they can do it. I'm not talking about the fleece job. I'm not saying you package a couple of guys to get an ace and you trick some team. But I think going out and finding somebody with control, it should be doable, and I think we can do it. And I want this to be the stinking offseason the trade deadline that they do it.
Yeah, I agree. Seems like they absolutely have to, or we're getting to the point where you're wasting value and you're wasting, surplus, right? So
yeah,
because you never know. So
what about Jose Soriano, Nate?
I like Soriano, and I wonder if he was in an organization that had a degree of aptitude towards anything. I don't want to give the Cardinals too much credit, but where he is right now,
they're a better organization than the Angels. I think we can say that with some confidence.
And I have some belief in the new pitching coordination and just the I'm riding the hope and positive train about the future of the Cardinals from a developmental standpoint with all the new hires that they've made. So maybe Soriano can finally, because he's one of those guys, that like it looks like he could be a 250 strikeout season, crush, but it's so inconsistent.
The stuff is there though.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting time.
Right.
But he's probably
we'll keep talking about it.
A couple years of control left, probably 2, maybe.
I think he has three or 4 years remaining.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else Cardinal news and notes related you want to chat about?
No, we talked about Newt. We talked about Valade. I think we're good.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to talk about the upcoming series and some league news and play another little game. But before we get to that, we want to remind everybody that this show is listener supported on Patreon. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. You can find all of our different options there for subscription. As little as $2 a month can get you in the door. Again, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. If you like the show, want to show your support for the time and effort that it takes to bring it to you every single week, we'd really appreciate you checking it out. Subscribers at any level get access to the Bird Scored. That's our private Discord server. It's essentially an online chat that is full of other Cardinal fans and other listeners of the show. It's a great place to get away from the sort of shitstorm that is current social media and get into a smaller, sort of localized group of people that are awesome and talking about the Cardinals and other random shit. You also get access to earlier episodes. I typically am getting them out to our patrons Wednesday afternoon, if not Wednesday night. So that's cool. And there's other things on there as well. Check it out, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. If you can't subscribe, understand. But what can still help us out is taking a moment to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. That really, really helps. And of course, tell your friends and tell your family. Hambone, if people are looking for us online elsewhere, where can they find us?
Yeah, we're on all those stupid social media platforms like Blue Sky and Instagram and TikTok. You can come and check out our faces on those various forms. You can listen to the show on Spotify. Like it and share it and click it and interact with it there as well. We're on YouTube. You could watch this episode. If you're one of those types of people, you can watch us. You can look at me right now, looking at you.
You see me seeing you?
Hey there. Or if you want to contact us, you can email us at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. You can find all of the podcast information at talkingaboutbirds.com. We got t-shirts. I was wearing my Talking About Birds t-shirt I was out and about. I was out in the world the other day, and a young person asked me if I was wearing a White Lies shirt, Nathan. Have you heard of this?
White Lies.
So I might sound like the oldest man in the entire world right now, but I was informed that there are parties where people will wear a quote-unquote White Lies shirt, and the shirt will say a lie about them on their shirt, and it'll be like a conversation starter. And she goes, I said, I don't know what that is. I've never heard of this. And she goes, oh, you really like watching baseball? And I go, yes, this shirt is earnest. And she goes, okay. So if you want to have a fun, interesting conversation.
Hello, fellow teens. Yeah.
It was bizarre. You can also call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
All right. And Hambone, we got an email that I wanted to chat about real quick. You might have seen it. Let me pull it up real quick. This is an important question that we actually have talked about on the show back in the early episodes. But it's been a little while since I think we've made our opinions on this clear. So Rob writes, "The Wave, a terrible event that shows people aren't really paying attention to the game and should be absolutely abolished, or just dumb and annoying. Thanks for your input on this important matter." So we got two options here, Hambone. If we're sticking with the premise of the question, it's either a terrible event that should be abolished, or is just dumb and annoying. So side plug for talkingaboutbirds.com, we have shirts that say, I do the wave and I don't do the wave. So make your choice clear with this awesome t-shirt on talkingaboutbirds.com. Hey, are you going to a white lies party, a thing that we all know about? Maybe this shirt would be perfect for that. So I'll go first, Hambone. Of the two options, I will say just dumb and annoying. I've had an evolution on this. I used to be answer A, that it was terrible. People aren't paying attention. It should be abolished. I have subscribed pretty heavily to don't yuck someone else's yum.
I feel like you yuck my yum quite a bit.
Well, you're stupid, and it's so easy. But for the casual fan, for most people out there, I want have fun your way. Ba 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 ba. I'm loving it. They can do whatever they want. I get it. Again, I used to be this way. Like, we were at the for the game we were at with Yamamoto on the mound. Cardinals have 2 on. It's a tie game. It's an incredibly tense moment in the game. And of course, that's when the wave starts. The wave starts going around in like the 8th inning at like a peak intensity of the game. And that's not my way of having fun at a baseball game. But for a lot of people, that is their way of having fun. That is like, it's peak energy in the game, and they just want to stand up and fling their hands into the air. And it might make it a little bit more annoying for me to watch, but whatever. They're having fun. I want people having fun at the ball game. So that's kind of how I feel about it. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think they should ban it. There should be a law. Here's what it really, really, really comes down to. The core of this is I don't like being told what to do. And I feel like a wave is, and it's all started, 99% of these waves are started by the drunkest guy in the bleachers.
Yes.
And shout out to that guy, because we all need him, right? We love him, don't we?
Sure.
But it's essentially through a stream of events and like a waterfall of actions by others is a drunk guy in the bleachers telling me what to do. And that is to stand up at a prescribed time every minute and a half or so. So boom, right there. I hate it. Like, based on that alone, I hate it. So yeah, throw that guy in jail most of the time. Sometimes it's fun. In a blowout, it's fun if the game's not really meaning anything. But I think the other thing that pisses me off about it is the timing rarely makes sense. Like, especially at the Rockies games where the Rockies are either getting their asses handed to them or whatever might be happening, somebody will start a wave just because they want to do a wave because they're the drunkest guy in the bleachers. Yeah. So if it was to initiate a rally, which I think is kind of what the wave is there for, I'm a little more onto that, but the timing is usually bad. And then also, whether, because if I if I'm in a moderately okay mood, I will do this. I won't stand up. I'll just wave my hands up.
Wow.
But I'm trying to watch this game pitch to pitch. I'm locked in. I'm having fun, enjoying the spectacle of baseball in front of me, and I find it extremely distracting. And I know that's a very grouch-ass answer, but I feel that in my heart.
You're a mean one.
I truly believe that.
Mr. Grinch.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I would think, because I know what you mean. You hate being told what to do, but you're also not, it's not enforced. So I would think you would find some joy in being grumpy old Ben and being like, no, I'm not going to do it, which is how you speak.
It still takes away from my view. Yeah. It still takes away from my viewing pleasure. So.
Okay. Well, so you be purchasing. I do not do the wave. I guess I should say I also am usually not participating, but it just doesn't bug me like it used to.
Right. Yeah. No, it's not like I'm sitting there like, ooh, if I find that guy. But it's just like you.
Have you been in the section of like the guy trying?
We've all.
Yeah.
It is the most thirsty a person can be. And what makes me even more mad about that guy is when that guy is expressing loudly his displeasure that people are not listening to him. The way that he feels like he is the conductor. And it's usually a guy. I'm painting with a broad brush here, but it's usually a man that's doing this. And he'll be like, come on, I counted to 3. What are you guys doing? It's like, I paid to watch Ryan McMahon strike out 3 times. I did not pay to watch.
He's been on a bit of a heater right now.
He hits the ball hard. I like Ryan McMahon.
Yeah.
That's. I'll stop talking about it. But I feel that very strongly.
I think there's like a good I think you could leave sketch out there still waiting to be written of like the guy trying to start the wave and it's not working. Because I've been in that room or in that section too where it's just not working and the guy just won't give it up.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thanks for the question, Rob. If you're out there and you have a question,
I gotta calm down. I need a cigarette after that. Jeez.
I need to start smoking after that. If you have a question or comment for the show, reach out to us. Talkingaboutbirds.com has links to all of the ways you can contact us. All right. Hambone, the Cardinals finally have a stretch of in-division games. We just had the 4 games against Milwaukee, and coming up, we have 3 against the Reds, and then 4 in St. Louis against your Chicago Cubs. Let's start with the Reds. I'd say not surprisingly, but a competitive team right now. That's kind of been the name of the game for the Reds. Has been high risk, high reward. Some of the most talented players in the league are on the Reds. But those same players also strike out at a 30% clip, and that is a high variance way to play. Their pitchers, some of the highest strikeout pitchers in the game, when they are healthy. So this is a team that if everything clicks, they're winning 100 games in a season, but it just has not clicked yet, although they're playing pretty well right now. What are you feeling about this game against the series against the Reds?
It needs to. Any conversation about the Reds has to start off with Elly De La Cruz. Elly De La Cruz is that dude. He is without argument potentially the best player in baseball. I think he will tap into that, and it might not be this year. It might be next year. It might be the year after that. But he is, as far as a talent ceiling, he is a freak of nature, and he is playing baseball very, very well right now.
Yeah, he played very well last year too. Like I think the question of is Elly going to click at the major league level is kind of done, and the answer is yes. The question now is, will it all come together for a full length of the year, and will he have one of the best seasons like in baseball history? He is MVP level talent. He obviously has to compete with Shohei in the NL now, but like this is a dude who I think will win an MVP in his major league career. Yeah.
For the season right now compared to last year, which some people were calling for him to be a MVP or MVP runner-up. Obviously, Shohei going 50-50 like Nate's referencing. But he is walking more. He is striking out less. His ISO is higher. His xWOBA, his WOBA are both higher. everything that he can do is better than it was last year, and he had a phenomenal year last year.
And he's 23, so
he is just amazing. So it sucks that he's a Red, but I do think just as baseball fans, you should just enjoy every time we get to watch Elliot go out there.
Love a guy who goes up with multiple. Love a guy who goes up with multiple gold chains. Also,
absolutely.
Mason Wynn does it. I was thinking about it the other day when I was watching Mason Wynn, with all of his chains. And I was like, man, this is a thing that baseball has over every other sport that I think, could be leaned into even more. No other sport can you wear something like that and be the best player in the league. Like imagining a basketball player or I bet some football players have stuff like underneath everything, but you can't see it really, but yeah, anyway, I'm a big Ellie fan.
Yeah. There's something about like the way that Ellie De La Cruz hits an opposite field home run where it looks like this 2-iron shot that's slicing. Like it is just, he's just fun to watch. He's an incredible player. I also love that he's like he's like a spider monkey build. Like he's a tall, skinny guy, but he has so much power, so much arm strength, so much speed. He's just great to watch. Outside of that, Gavin Lux is doing the thing that we talked about. Like he is having a really nice year outside of the Dodgers organization, just kind of settling into a role-playing role rather than the best prospect in baseball. And then kind of outside of that, I think it's a pretty mixed bag of pretty solid, if not probably just below great position players. Only person who I would say is really to call out who's had a really rough season is Matt McLain, who I still think will pop at some point.
Yeah.
But he hasn't had a great year to this point.
Yeah, I agree. Matt McLain, he's a bit of a StatCast darling, but the surface stats are not there. And they've kind of buried him in the lineup a little bit. But yeah, TJ Friedel having a good year. Tyler Stevenson, quietly one of the better hitting catchers in baseball. He was hurt for a while. I think it'll be less quiet as the months go along. Christian Encarnacion Strand, who was also hurt, is back and hitting the ball pretty hard. Will Benson, who's always had that crazy high ceiling.
That guy hits the ball hard.
Yeah. He strikes out 1 billion, but he hits the ball super hard. So it's Spencer Steer, who had a 2020 season last year. He's pretty good. He's had a mixed bag year too, but you run down all of those guys are known names,
Yeah.
So where it starts to get a little tricky for them, and one of the reasons that they are where they are, which is right around where the Cardinals are in the standings, is the starting pitching. They have Hunter Green, who is one of the best pitchers in baseball, but he's hurt again. So outside of that, Andrew Abbott is having a bit of a breakout year. I don't know how much you've paid attention to him, but he's looking very, very good. Nick Lodolo is healthy. Strikeouts are down. Maybe that's part of him trying to stay healthy, but he's healthy and having a pretty good year. And then Nick Martinez, Brady Singer, and Wade Miley. So that's where you beat them. You beat them there, and you beat them in the bullpen. Although Emilio Pagan has sort of settled that a little bit for them, but you got to beat them on. You got to out hit them basically.
Yeah. Which the Cardinals can do.
Yeah.
Have you seen the recent Wade Miley controversy?
It rings a. I know I saw his name around.
He's being accused of introducing the drugs to Tyler Skaggs. In that whole Angel scandal. Obviously, very dark story, but I'm curious to see what happens there. I wonder how much longer Wade Miley is going to be in the big leagues. But
it's crazy and I think it's good, but it's crazy the long tail on the Tyler Skaggs situation. The fact that there is. Still now a Major League Baseball player is being implicated in it. Was unexpected.
Yeah. These drugs need to be out of baseball. I think this is way more dangerous than a steroid issue that we had, is these pain pills. But yeah. Anyways, let's talk about the Cubs.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know, Ben, are the Cubs the best team in the NL? Because
No. No, they're not. I'm not going to admit it, even if they are. But I really do not think they are the best team in the AL. I think that they do have a 1-2-3, or I guess a 2-3-4 of Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki, and PCA, who are really, really looking like a formidable team right now. I just don't believe in the pitching enough for me to fully say that they are that good. But their position player group is really, really good. They are a really stout defensive bunch, which is annoying because they are also hitting so well right now. They have one of the better offenses in baseball. But like, I just don't believe that Matthew Boyd and like Ben Brown and Jamison Tyon are really like, those guys don't scare me. I'm not, I just don't believe it. They're having some good luck right now, but I refuse to believe it. How about that?
I think you might need to start accepting that Ben Brown is good. I think he's pretty good. Boyd, we'll see. Hambone, they have the best run differential in baseball.
I know.
I hate it too, but they are a legitimately good team. I'm looking at it now. They have a run differential of 107. The Cardinals at 28, by the way. The Reds at 42. The second high, like the Dodgers only have a 76. The Yankees are second highest with 98. So, they're pretty good. It is definitely PCA is hitting like a star. He looks like a star. But it is definitely a story of an entire team just it's kind of the way the Cardinals have done it in years past, where it's just like there's nobody on the team that is maybe an MVP contender, but there's also like not any real weaknesses on the team.
I mean, PCA is an MVP contender right now.
I agree with you. He's definitely like in the top 5, but he's not. It's not like hitting like Ohtani or something like that who is going to win it. But you know what I mean. Like don't get me wrong. They have you have to have really good players to have this degree of success. But it's more like they just kind of do everything pretty good, even when their bullpen is struggling, which is how it's been for a lot of the years. They just keep finding other guys who come up and have pretty good success. Is it sustainable? I don't know. I think you're right that the pitching is the bigger question mark. But I do think there's some guys that are pretty good on there that just are in the process of breaking out. So it's going to be tough, but it's 4 at home, and the reality is if the Cardinals want to win this division, they got to do really well in this series and every series against the Cubs, because the Cubs are kind of crushing right now. So this is your best shot to make up some of the 7 games that they are now behind the Cubs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything to add to that. It's going to be tough, though. I mean, this we just talked about the Cardinals starting rotation has a 6+ ERA right now. We've talked about how good the Cubbies' offense is. Talked about how good their defense is, and their pitching is fine enough. So it's going to be really tough. If you split this series, you have to be really happy about that.
Yeah, I agree. So let's see. What are the projected pitching matchups here? It looks like we should see Tyon, Cade Horton, a prospect, a young guy of theirs who a lot of people like, Matthew Boyd, and then projected Shohei Ohtani should be coming back from the IL for this start. Right. Although that's always, you can never know for sure kind of until the day if a guy's coming off the IL to start or not. Imanaga is very good. He's a very, very good pitcher. So he's been out for like 2 months. So they're getting him back. I'm not trying to be too doom and gloom here because, I think the Cardinals can beat the Cubs. But they're really clicking right now. This is a really good team.
It's a good team playing well. I cannot argue that. But I'm not admitting defeat. It's
never.
I don't know.
Never.
Yeah. And it's at home. Which is it's a slight advantage. Going into Wrigley is always tough. Hopefully Cardinals fans show up and we have a lot of fun.
Cardinals are playing a lot better at home than on the road too. So, I think a split would be you'd be happy about it. Obviously we would like more. So, should be a fun series. It's always fun. I like baseball, especially as a Cardinal fan, is more fun when the Cubs are good. And this is the best Cubs team we've seen for a few years now. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into some league news.
All right. Well, we got a big one, Nate. And I got a lot of thoughts on this. I won't belabor him too much because it has nothing to do with the Cardinals. But Rafi Devers has been traded to your San Francisco Giants in exchange for right-hander Jordan Hicks. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Left-hander Kyle Harrison, who's a starting pitcher of some note. Outfield first base prospect James Tibbs, who was drafted, I think, last year.
He was their
right-handed
first-round pick
pitching
last
prospect. Yeah, Jose Bayo, who is a very young man, and probably many years away from the big leagues. But obviously, the big news is Devers is finally out of the Red Sox clutches and the mistreatment and the wrongdoings and the so on and so forth, and is with the Giants. And what is infinitely more entertaining is that during his presser, where he was introduced to Giants fans, he said that he'd be willing to play first base, DH, and do whatever the Giants ask him to do. So I know we have opinions on this. I talked about it a little bit in the Bird Scored. I put my tinfoil hat on, which is what I think Jake's implying I'm a little bit crazy in the Bird Scored, but I think I really believe this. I think that Craig Breslow is a bad communicator.
Yeah.
First off, I think that Craig Breslow is to blame, and maybe partly John Henry is to blame, but Craig Breslow is the guy that we can blame because he's the one that's talking to us about this the most often. The way I view it is that he should have told Rafi Devers that he was in on Nolan Arenado and in on Alex Bregman as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. He is the face of the franchise. He is one of the, I think, top 20, top 15 hitters in baseball. Mm-hmm. He is signed to a $300 million contract. He's beloved by your city. If you're going to move him off the position, you signal that early and often. Hey, Rafi, here's how we think we can get better. We're going to go get one of these Gold Glove third basemen, and we want you to move to first. We think this gives us the best opportunity to win, and obviously you are a top hitter in baseball. We're going to do whatever we can do to make you comfortable. We'll fly you out if you want to start learning first base now. If you want to, let's talk. How does this work best for you? You just want to DH, and then when they make that move, he's amped, ready to go, and he's excited to have this great new teammate. And with Tristan Casas, you figure that out. I think they should have traded Tristan Casas, and keep Rafi Devers. But here they are. Then they didn't do that. They said, put your glove away. You're a DH, and you're going to like it. Rafi Devers obviously did not like being told that. Tristan Casas' knee explodes. They need a first baseman. They say, go figure out how to play first base now. In an interview with Rafi Devers, Rafi said, I don't know what problem Craig Breslow has with me. So obviously there is a communication breakdown here. Now, the tinfoil hat part comes in was Craig Breslow, who did not extend Rafi Devers and maybe does not like that big dollar amount and the lack of positional flexibility that Rafi Devers has. Was he just trying to push this guy out, make him unhappy, and then trade him? It seems either Craig Breslow somehow got to where he is while being a Major League Baseball player and an executive and an Ivy League school graduate with also being a terrible communicator, or was he trying to push this guy out of the organization, which he successfully did? Because he said this to the media after the trade was done, he believes that the Red Sox are better today than they were while having Rafi Devers on the team. I call bullshit to that. I think that's very, very silly. I guess I'll leave it there. I'll let you respond to that. But that's kind of where I'm at. I think the Red Sox and Breslow are stupid. Yeah. I think Rafi Devers is good. You should hold on to this player. I think he'll age decently well. He walks and hits the ball hard. One other thing I'll say is the Giants finally get a good bat. Okay, I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think I've made my opinion pretty clear. I think Rafi was a big fat diaper baby during this whole thing. But this has worked out pretty well for him. He's been traded to a far, far better organization. I mean, I know the Giants haven't won a ton recently, but they seem to be very well ran. The players like to play for them. And the Red Sox, it's just one shitty decision after another. We saw this with Mookie Betts, with Xander Bogaerts. I know Breslow's the newer GM, but this just continues a track record of being a pretty shitty organization. I'm imagining it's all coming down from John Henry, who seems to be, not the best decision maker in long term, value of his organization. Despite that, they have like an incredibly exciting young group of prospects right now. I think it has also come out that they didn't really shop him around, which is insane. That also speaks to bad decision making from the Reds. They just kind of, I don't know, I guess some sort of personal relationship, or the first guy to pick up the phone and they figured out something. The trade feels pretty reminiscent of the Arenado trade, where everybody immediately is like, oh my God, what a bad deal. Harrison has some upside, but Luke Weaver had some upside. Carson Kelly, like Tibbs was their
I
first
have
round
some
pick.
upside. Like, come on now.
Debatable, but it's a very similar thing. Big fat contract, but very different player, but a similar sort of situation. Big fat contract that they seem to move for no reason. So bad deal for the Red Sox. I have said a lot. We talk about it on the show. I don't think it is optimal for a team to have a DH only. We're seeing that now with the Cardinals. It is not optimal that Ivan can only DH right now from setting your lineup. But if you do have a DH only, it is exactly Rafi Devers who you want. So
yes,
they are not made better by not having Rafi Devers. That's just coping. So bad deal. Red Sox have a ton of exciting young players. I imagine they're actually probably going to be pretty good in the relative near future, but it's not going to be because of this trade. It's going to be because in spite of this trade. I guess this whole thing is over now, though. People are going to be talking about this trade for a long time, but the saga of Devers and the Red Sox and all that is over.
You're just putting so much weight on guys who haven't done it yet. Tristan Casas, Roman Anthony, Marcelo Mayer, Cedane Rafaela, Christian Campbell. I get you should be amped about these guys because there's a lot of things to be amped about, and they have the pedigree. But not all those guys are going to work out. And Rafi Devers has worked out. He is that guy.
Yeah. If they'd got
silly to me,
this whole thing would feel a lot different if they'd gotten a good return for it. If they went and got another guy they could plug in right now and say like, hey, he's $30 million cheaper. He's a team player, however they want to spin it. Right.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the same because of the cost, but like, look at what the Nationals got for Juan Soto. No one wanted them to trade. Yeah. No fan wanted them to trade him, but they did. And it's worked out splendidly for them. There was a way you do this with Devers. Maybe you eat some of the cost, but you could have certainly absolutely gotten some big time players for Rafael Devers, and maybe Harrison sticks. At one point he was a pretty high end pitching prospect. Strike everyone out but walks everyone too. Maybe Tibbs will be a guy, but like unless Harrison is like their ace starting next year, this is not going to work out from a production standpoint.
No. All right, let's talk about another trade that happened. We talked about Aaron Civale asking for a trade from the Brewers after the Brewers brought up Jacob Misiorowski. He got his wish. He is now a White Sox. They did a 1-to-1 trade for Aaron Civale for Andrew Vaughn. Two kind of stinkers.
Yeah, real monkey's paw, though. I wish to be traded. Okay, how about the White Sox?
The good news about this trade is that Civale will get to start. Mm-hmm. So he has his wish, and he could maybe go cash in. And Andrew Vaughn, who has been criticized of golfing over practicing, and there's been some weird background stuff about him. He's a guy that hits the ball hard.
Yeah.
And he's going to a much more competent organization. So maybe he'll unlock something. Maybe they both will. But yeah, I did think that was funny that Civale's like, let me out of here. And then goes to the White Sox. At least it wasn't the Rockies.
True. I'm a little worried about this trade from a Cardinal fan standpoint because I do. Vaughn has been very rough, particularly his surface stats this year. But if you look under the hood just a little bit,
he hits the ball hard.
He's got a 322 expected WOBA, which above league average, and some of his numbers are better than they've ever been this year. So the Brewers develop players. They've done this before. He was a former high-end prospect. if there's ever a guy that you can see the Brewers kind of working their magic on, it's stupid Andrew Vaughn. So I'm going to be really annoyed when, we go in a month or two and Andrew Vaughn's hitting cleanup for the Brewers behind Churio and Terang and these guys, and he's good. So
yeah. I also could see that happening pretty easily, but hopefully it doesn't. All right, last piece of news I wanted to talk about is Shohei Ohtani pitched a big league inning. Only one. It was 28 pitches. I don't know if you saw that article in Fangraphs that was analyzing every single pitch by Ben Clemens. But what we saw, even though it was a little bit, looked really, really good. And I didn't think he'd be starting at all or pitching at all. So kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've said it a bunch on this show. I don't really think it's the smartest thing for the Dodgers to have him pitch. That said, you certainly see why. It's like, oh, yeah, he's also like a near Cy Young level pitcher when he can. So I've always said that if they're going to do it, I think having him as relief makes more sense, and having him be a opener or whatever. I guess if you like openers, makes even more sense than him being a reliever at the end of the game, where he might be more tired and maybe more prone for injury or something like that. So having him start as an opener makes the most sense if he's going to be a reliever. We'll see where this goes. I hope he stays healthy, and it'll be an interesting trick for them to manage this.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got for league news. Natty H.
All right, Hambone, I got a new game for you. Thanks to C70 for reaching out and giving me sort of the inspiration for this game. Apparently this is something that they've played on like The Athletic and things like that. And I've heard of versions of this game too. But I'm calling it Rank Bank. All right. In Rank Bank, I've got a set of things from a category, and you have to rank them. But the trick is, I'm going to tell you how many items from the category there are, and you have to place them in the ranking before you know what the next item is going to be. So I might say there's 5 things. I'll give you the first one. You put it in that slot of 5. And then we go down the line. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So we're going to start with ballpark food. Okay. So I'm going to give you 5 ballpark foods, and you're going to tell me where you rank them. Okay?
All right.
Hot dogs. Where are they in your top 5?
Ooh, okay. Starting hot. Go with 2.
All right. Hot dogs locked in at you leave a little space for number 1, right?
Leave a little space, but it's high up there. It's high up there. That's A tier, yeah.
Pretzels. Like a big soft pretzel.
Ooh, damn it. Damn, 3. I fucking love pretzels.
Under hot dogs.
Yeah. I probably would have put pretzel above hot dog, but I can't be number 1. But, here we are. It's fine.
Okay. Nachos.
Got to go 1.
Yeah.
Which might put me in a really tough position here, but I got to go 1. I mean, nacho, that's what I look forward to most, especially the ones with like all the beef and beans.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We're
get them sloppy.
Yeah.
Get that nacho cheese all
over. I want
to
finish my nachos with a fork. Yeah.
Yeah. Get it all over the tray, your pants.
Don't talk to me. Stop it. Don't talk to me like that.
All right. And as one item, peanuts and Cracker Jacks.
Peanuts and Cracker Jacks. 1. That's not my jam.
5.
5. Sorry.
Yeah.
5.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This might end up working out for you, Hambone. Last item, ice cream spaghetti.
Should have saved 1 for that, but 4, I guess. I'm okay with that. I've yet to have it, though. I think we're going to go to a Rockies game this week, and maybe I can report back next episode.
All right, so your final rankings are number 1, nachos, number 2, hot dogs, number 3, pretzels, number 4, ice cream spaghetti, and number 5, peanuts and Cracker Jacks.
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
That's a pretty good ranking. I think I might have done the same, even knowing the whole thing.
Yeah.
Although I might put ice cream spaghetti after peanuts and Cracker Jacks, because I just never am getting ice cream at a ballpark like that. But the novelty of it, I guess, is fun.
Yeah.
Here in St. Louis, you get ice cream at the ballpark. It's going to be gone by the time you get to your seat.
Shut up. Idiot.
All right, Hambone. We're going into second set. This one, I've got 6 for you.
Okay.
Cardinal fan favorites of the last 20 years.
Okay.
So you're ranking them for yourself.
Yeah.
Colton Wong.
Ooh.
There's 6 slots.
Yeah. I'm going to smack him right in the middle. We're going to start off with a 3 for Wonger.
Okay. Lars Nootbaar.
Ooh. Shoot. 2 for Newt.
Filling up that top spot. These are the hard ones because they're all, we like them all. Alan Craig.
Alan Craig. Oh, I loved Alan Craig.
Caught the last out of the 2011 World Series.
I'm going to play it safe, though, and I'm going to give Craigie number 5.
Okay. Brendan Ryan.
Number 1. Let's go.
Okay.
That's my guy right there.
Yeah. I thought you would like that.
However, I love Brendan Ryan.
This whole thing is quite Ben coded. Ryan Ludwig.
No. Ryan Ludwig would be my actual number 1. Love that man. I remember I remember where I was when I was informed that he was traded.
I think I told you he was traded.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
You've got 4.
I gotta give him
4 and 6.
Yeah, I'll give him 4. I'll give him 4.
All right, this one works out for you, Hambone, because I was hoping to maybe get you stuck here. Number 6.
Yeah.
Pete Kozma.
Yep. Okay, we're good. Not a fan favorite. He is a baseball player.
Yeah, some people really liked Pete Kozma.
Yeah,
all right,
some people did.
Hambone, I got one more for you.
All right.
There's 5 of them. Okay. It is favorite Mats.
Okay.
Number 1, Matt Holliday.
Matt Holliday is. I'm afraid to say this so early, but I think he's got to be number 1.
Okay.
He's the best Matt there is.
Yeah.
I think.
All right. Matt Adams.
I love a Matt Adams. He never really fully came together, though.
Remember that home run against Clayton Kershaw, though?
Oh, I sure do. And that hurt Clayton Kershaw's feelings when we showed him the video of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give him number 4 because we got better Matts.
Okay. Matt Wieters.
Matt Wieters gets number 5. Sorry, Matt.
Okay. And Matt Carpenter.
There we go. Number 2. That's easy.
All right.
Matt Holliday, Matt Carpenter. Boom, boom. Let's go.
And finally, Matt Heininger, my older brother.
Oh, damn it. Sorry, Matt Wieters. I really acted too quickly there. But yeah, I guess he's
slotting in now. Slotting in at number 3. So
damn, easily my least favorite Matt.
So your final rankings on the Matts are Matt Holliday, Matt Carpenter, Matt Heininger, Matt Adams, and Matt Wieters.
Wow. Really screwed that last one up.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess good luck, Matt Heininger. Right above Matt Adams and Matt Wieters. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the show. Thank you again, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week. Cardinals find themselves in an interesting moment in the season, a pivotal moment, you might say. Should be a good week of baseball. We'll be back. Again, check out all our links at talkingaboutbirds.com. And until next week, go Cardinals.
we're all hanging out last night, just sitting around before we go to bed, and Edie's playing Mice for Cats, and sometimes
little bedtime screen time, before.
Yeah. She's an iPad kid. It's okay.
Uh-huh.
We've made peace with that. But anyway, sometimes she gets into other apps and stuff like that, and you have to go reset it so that she can get on, so she goes so hard that she was opening up other apps. And somehow she set an alarm on my iPad at 6 or 7 o'clock or something like that. And Mary was up, and she thought, oh, Ben must have set an alarm on his iPad because he's got an early work meeting. Oh, he's not. His iPad's in another room. I should go wake him up. So Mary wakes me up at 7 o'clock in the morning, thinking that I set an alarm, but I'm pretty sure Edie set the alarm while she was playing. Just the dumbest.
You got played by your cat. That's so funny.
I know.
I've also you may have noticed that Edie cash apped me $3,000 last night.
No, I did not notice. That's very nice of you to alert me to that, though.
Well, it's
so
mine
I'll have
now.
to retract that.
It's mine now.